feel maybe I broke the curse of this Aries full moon. So at any rate, let's see what my scary prognosticator has to say today.
Look out! Behind you.
Oh dear. Sorry to subject you to this, but it is Halloween and I like to have fun, you know. I think we all do. And one other thing, Mr. O, is it time before we do your reading for me to do the rune leaf?
Sure, we can do that.
I'm going to let you pick one this time because I believe I picked one last time.
All right.
I create these rune leaves and put them out every year and just as a prognostication for fall. And I've got a set of interpretations that I put together for them. So let's see what Oberon draws for us. Okay, and that's the right way. Yes, please do. Hopefully it'll show up. I inscribed these symbols on these leaves that I got from a craft store. And that particular one is Uru's strength. The element is fire. No surprise there since the moon is in, full moon is in Aries. The magical uses: strengthen body, manifest your goals, healing, vitality, beginnings, introductions, and changes. And the interpretation upright as he drew it is good health, recuperative abilities. Your willpower is very strong right now. Sudden changes could come about. There could be a promotion that brings you added responsibility. It's good for beginnings and endings, relationship changes. Also, it indicates that if you suffer a loss of any sort, there's a possibility that could bring later gain for you. You know, sometimes loss brings a gain, and it can represent a male in a reading. And that is what I have on that rune.
Cool.
So I don't want to hog the show here. So, Mr. O, did you have anything to bring up right now about the live stream or up and coming plans? Anything?
Oh no, no. I'm good to go.
I just wanted to check because I was kind of blah blahing there.
No, we had the audio portion not fully engaged for about 7 or 8 minutes.
Oh dear.
It's been engaged now for a couple minutes, so I'm just like checking everything else. So I apologize for that.
We apologize for the audio mishap, and I'm very sorry about that. Well, considering we had some lighting snafus in the beginning, it wasn't all bad.
It was our transition from the movie, the intro movie, to the camera. I thought I clicked the button, but I apparently didn't fully click it.
So tell me something before I clobber you over this. I'm just kidding. Was my rune segment totally in the dark then?
Reading the rune?
Yeah.
That part went through.
Okay. Okay. So my pendulum fun stuff did not go through, and some of the stuff about the cat. Okay.
And any ponderings upon...
We apologize for our technical difficulties. This is where I think it's proven that we need our producer still.
Well, it's true, because I should have noticed that.
Yeah.
They weren't engaged.
Okay. Well, we're middling a bit with the lights and worried about stuff, so we let the audio go. Hey, K-Dash. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Welcome.
Sorry we got off to a little bit of a shaky start here, but all is well now. And we're about to do I don't know if you came because you're interested in getting a free reading or interested in watching the content for a while. We were about to do a group reading for the week ahead that Oberon does every Sunday, and I do one on Thursdays. So this is for all our viewing audience.
Right. We each do a separate reading for the week. Mine is on Sundays when we broadcast between 2 and 4 p.m. Yes, you can have a reading.
You can absolutely have a reading. Do you have a particular question in mind, or do you just want a general reading? How about we use my deck to begin with?
Sure, that sounds fine.
The deck I am using today is the...
Whoops, hold on.
That's okay. The Pagan Cats Tarot. And this one is...
We will do a general reading for you, K-Dash.
Magdalena Messina and Lola Aragni. I believe it's a Low Scarabeo deck that Llewellyn also distributes. But yeah, Low Scarabeo. Just want to make sure I get my credits for the deck out there. We'll be happy to do a general reading for you. We usually do 3-card readings, and then I'll throw out a couple of extra Lenormand cards. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but if you watch our show and stay tuned to different broadcasts, you'll get more familiar with them. All right, I'm going to let you shuffle first, and then I'll shuffle.
Okay.
I'm going to look for a general spread that I created that we'll use.
And yes, we like cats a lot. Sometimes the cats will sit in our reading. One of our cats was here earlier, but she decided to roll away, which is fine. She may join us again, or the cat that's more often our regular companion will.
Okay, K-Dash, how about we do one that we're going to do one that's going to give you an outlook for this week, next week. Well, you know what? I'm going to take that back. This month, next month, and the next 3 months. Let's do that one.
Okay, I've shuffled, and now it's your turn to shuffle.
Yep. Because the month is almost over. I was going to do one that was like this week, next week, and the rest of the month, but really, we're almost halfway through the month of October now. It's
almost
amazing.
Halfway, yeah. Halloween is coming.
Halloween is coming. And we've got all kinds of fun things in store. Today, I brought out a deck of cards that deal with past lives readings, and I'm going to show that later and show how to work with it if you're able to find it still on the market. And maybe we'll have some fun with that today. But for now, let's do the reading for K-Dash. One more time.
And you cut, and then I'll put it together.
Yep. Okay. Okay. The first card is the focus and what's going on for you this month. And it is the Two of Pentacles reversed. So the Two of Pentacles reversed maybe leads me to believe that things are, you know, it's a juggling act this month. Things are a little bit out of sorts, a little bit out of balance. You need to find your center again and maybe ground so that you can really, figure out what to focus on, I think, in the month ahead, for the remainder of this month.
Now, is this
Yes.
the 30 days that is all of
Yeah.
October, or
Yeah.
the 30 days from here?
No, I think it's
okay, yeah.
this
So,
month.
right, I would have to agree with the Banshee here and say that a lot of this was about balancing some stuff going on. Maybe you have different projects, or maybe you have moved from a particular kind or set of relationships to another kind of set of relationships, and that could be something like moving your location, moving an apartment, that kind of thing, or actually moving between relationships. But some of this has been a little bit stressful, or
I was going to say to you, and maybe you can agree to disagree, is sometimes doesn't that card kind of look like also the work-life balance a little bit?
yes, and because it is, of course, the coins, that is the influence there too, is that since it relates to things that are more financial related, it could relate to your career, your actual employment, or situations.
Well,
like
and
that.
how it's intersecting with your personal life. So, whether you're in school, you're a student, or you're working right now, or you're really applying yourself on a particular project, don't neglect the other side of your life. Or for that matter, if you're spending too much time in the personal realm of your life, dealing with relationship issues, family problems, etc., don't neglect the professional side of your life.
Well, this could also mean too that there are some particular bill kind of situations or financial situations that you're balancing, that you're trying to take care of too in this month period, that maybe there's a loan that's due, or maybe there's some situation like that where you owe somebody something or something has to be paid.
You probably know best how this resonates with you, of course, so we're just throwing out the various ways this card, could be influencing your life at present. The next card is the month ahead, and we've got the Knight of Wands reversed. So the month ahead is kind of like, I would say things are going to slow down a bit, and maybe you're not going to be too happy about that. Because you were hoping to move full steam ahead on a project or a relationship, but things are going to kind of, I guess you're going to just hit the brakes are going to be hit on it.
Well, it is also possible too. I get the feeling that there may have been a newer friend or newer situation that will prove to not be what you really want. It would be easy to say that maybe this is something where you felt like you put your trust there and now you're not so sure you like being in that situation. You may have agreed to something that now you're having second thoughts about. It may be that it's something new, an opportunity that was offered to you. I don't necessarily see this as a human relationship, though it could have some aspects of that. It could be more about maybe being in some club or situation, and now maybe you're not so sure that that's the right move for you. Or there's one person in particular who is sort of sending off a vibe of slow down. You just feeling a little vibe of distrust, or you want to take it slower.
Okay, I can add to that. Very good. And the final card is the next the 3 months, the culmination and what will be happening in the third month. Well, again, I've got a reversed card. It's the Nine of Pentacles reversed, and it seems to indicate to me that there's going to be some unhappiness with where you are financially, that you feel like you could be doing better. You're not satisfied with the results of something coming in. Maybe if you were expecting some money or some income, it's not going to be as much as you wanted. Maybe if you're, say, applying for a job and they give you an offer, it's not going to be what you expected it to be. And what else do you see there?
Well, I'm thinking too, there's a situation that maybe if you have roommates or housemates, you're wondering if you like that kind of setup, that maybe you'd rather be more on your own, but you can't necessarily afford that.
Yeah, there is that
maybe
element
there's
there.
something about the actual living situation that you're going to want to change come December. So for an example, and I don't know if this applies, but if you were a student, maybe classes are ending somewhere in December, and then you would want to be able to make a move for the following semester, or just somehow remove yourself from that situation. It could also mean too that maybe there is just a consideration of what your expenses are versus the comfort or the other situations you get from that living arrangement. So it could also just mean that you're going to feel like you have to question the living arrangement on the financial grounds, as well as some of those other comfort or advantages that you actually feel you receive.
Oh, sorry. I am studying the Lenormand cards that I drew for you as kind of, I'm looking at this as something else that seems like it's going to happen in this time period, 1 to 3 months, and you want to hold those up. Okay, one of them is the Gentleman card in the Lenormand, and the other is the Park or Garden. Depending on what Lenormand you read, there's different symbology sometimes with the different interpretations of the Lenormand. But at any rate, the gentleman, could indicate just a person, because I don't like to get into gender much anymore. But I will say, if you're looking for a relationship with a man, if that is the case, that is a possibility. Somebody is going to enter your life from your social circles, because...
Is that what the garden is?
Yes, the Park and the Garden is kind of about getting out to like social activities of some sort or another. I mean, it could indicate social media, but I'm thinking these are physical social activities, not not virtual, because there's another card that would be the birds that would be more for that. So I would say that in any rate, you might meet somebody new and exciting, whoever and whatever gender it may be, at a social gathering. And I think things could click off. It's neither positive or negative to me. It is just showing that is on the agenda.
I do not read the Lenormand cards, but I like the symbologies of them. So sometimes I get a little ping. But all of my pings today would say that they totally agree with what Banshee has said, that I just feel that there is basically some sort of chance meeting with somebody who may be a person of interest to you at some point. So I feel that that's what it is. We are moving into the holiday season, so that usually means there's more social engagements as well.
Mm-hmm. So I hope this makes some sense to you, K-Dash, and helps a little bit. Do you have any questions or anything you want clarified?
Yeah, by chance, if you're interested in asking another question, go right ahead.
Well, I see we may have some more people in the chat as well. Some others have tuned in. And welcome to everybody. We had a couple little technical difficulties in the beginning. What else is new with us? No, we're usually better than that, but occasionally there are some glitches.
Yes, thank you for joining us. We did have technical difficulties.
Hey, Laura.
But we fixed them up.
Welcome back.
Hi, Laura.
We just did a reading for K-Dash, and I just want somebody new, and I just wanted to see if she had any...
You're very welcome.
...further questions. Oh, you're very welcome, K-Dash, and feel free to subscribe. We're on twice weekly, Thursdays from 7 and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
It's good to see you too, Laura. Thank you.
Good to see you as well. We're having fun this fall day. I was talking earlier about being at the Enlightened Soul Festival in Southfield, Michigan, and what a great time I had there. It was very interesting. We're going to have some other good fun today. We had great time last time with an exercise Oberon did. We're not sure we're going to do that again today. We'll see.
We definitely want to come back to it at some point because it really was a lot of fun. And for those who may be here and weren't here when we did that, we basically found a way to involve the audience in aspects of our reading. So it's sort of like a group effort.
Well, and we included the reader in that too. So they had a choice of... In other words, they had more of a role to play in their destiny in the cards here. I think it was a really cool idea, and we will definitely try that again. We have a few other things on our agenda today, but first, I think that we should do our group reading for everybody.
Yeah, let's do the group reading. This is the reading that I do on Sundays for the week ahead. It's a short 3-card reading, the body, mind, and spirit, with my option to occasionally throw another card out there just in case it's needed. So because we're the Halloween season, I have decided that everyone should be scared.
He brought out his scary deck.
The Vampire Tarot, which, oh my goodness, isn't that just bloody good fun there?
Oh,
There's
dear.
the Vampire Tarot. That's the King of Cups. And the Vampire Tarot was created around the year 2000. And I actually happened to hear about it because a good friend of mine who's also a good tarot card reader, Draconis, I'll just call him that, mentioned it and showed me his deck. And I said, that is so cool. So I went ahead and bought one, maybe not right away, but a few years later. I haven't used it a whole lot, but today we're going to use it for the Halloween season and for our broadcast. So I am going to ask... let's see. I guess we'll do it kind of like our other readings. I'll shuffle, you'll shuffle, then you'll cut,
You want me to cut this one? Yep. Okay, sounds good to me. So I was showing off earlier one of the things I got at the Enlightened Soul Festival is this nice pendulum board by a store or people that operate out of Clarkston, Michigan. It was really a nice thing. I was playing with the pendulum when we got started, but we had some technical difficulties.
Go ahead and shuffle.
So I'm not sure the audio was working.
Shuffle.
Oh, yes, I'm shuffling. I'm sorry. I don't know about your scary vamp. I got this nice pagan cat deck.
I guess.
We will use both interchangeably today. Yeah, I decided to bring down a different deck today too. And as the weeks go on, we will be bringing out our Halloween tarot decks to show. Today, a little bit later in our broadcast, I'm going to bring out some reincarnation cards that I have. Yes, it's about past life readings, and we're going to have a little bit of fun with that. Whether you're into it or not, it's kind of fascinating, and just to imagine the possibilities of if you did live in this time frame and what it would have been like.
It could also be a writer's exercise.
That's right.
Yeah.
You could maybe generate stories out of this. A lot of my my divination tools are like that. They can, you can get a lot of creative uses out of them.
Okay, Banshee, go ahead and cut them.
I am certainly going to cut your cards. There. Okay. And you want to tell us what the first position in your reading is?
No. Oh, I will. Okay. The first card's position is the body, mind, and spirit reading. So we have drawn. Oh, a 9 of Swords. The 9 of Swords. Look at that. I love that card.
Well, I love that card, but I
goth.
don't love that card, let's just say.
The 9 of Swords in our body tells us that for the week ahead, some of us are going to be reviewing some pain and some moments where we've looked for healing. Some of us may be feeling also concerns for those who we know are suffering, but we are not able to be with them. In a very abstract sense, some of us very good-hearted persons may be thinking about all the people of the world who are suffering right now. The recent, what do they call that? The typhoons and things.
Oh, the typhoon in Japan.
That's happening, and people that are dying from that.
People in wars right now, which, I'm not going to get into politics, but, there is a lot of suffering in the world, and that's a good point, bringing that up with this card.
So this card may have more to do with our reflections on the world all around us for this week ahead, that we just sort of feel there's a time of wondering where the healing will be coming from and helping to have that healing.
So in other words, even though this is the position of the physical body, we're saying that, what's going on in your mind too, and some of the worries and the sadness that you're feeling and stuff, don't let it overwhelm you so that, you become physically ill. Because oftentimes, we allow stress and worries in our lives to cause things to happen to our physical bodies.
It could just be the awareness that there are so many people who are undergoing a lot of physical pain right now too, that this may be what that means. Okay,
Right.
The next card is in fact the mind, what we think about during this week, what's going on, and it is the Strength card reversed. It's a beautiful card, a woman that's apparently wrestling some sort of large panther. I like that. Strength reversed is not also a very good card to put into our mental thing here, because it may be saying that there is a sense of depression over not being able to find love or not being able to get away from oppression or get away from physical oppression, strength that is used against the person. And so in a way, in a strange, ironic way, it sort of is its own reverse of the first card. The first card talked about dwelling upon people's physical problems, perhaps, in my opinion. The second card is more about thinking about how some of us cannot escape our oppression. What do you want to say?
Going with what I said.
Go ahead.
No, I would say that, I feel like the Strength card, since this is the mind, is a definite indication of an internal struggle going on, inside you right now. And that internal struggle can have physical consequences, which is what I said in the first card. So I think that, the struggle within the self right now, you have to come to terms with something that is really weighing heavily on your mind.
Well, maybe our final card then will bring a clue here to throw it all together.
Maybe.
Maybe. And we have...
It's reversed as well.
You know what? We should rename our tarot show Reverso Tarot. Because we seem to always pull cards reversed.
No, we do not,
Well,
but
not
it
always,
happens.
But at any rate, this is the reversed Three of Cups. And to me, in the position of spirit, I guess somehow we're feeling physically drained. We're feeling like we are without energy, without sustenance. We are having problems feeling the joy, feeling that there's something better there. We're just sort of depressed spiritually.
I think that this card to me, if I took it as a sum total here, because there seems to be a pattern, and the pattern to me is now that it just seems like it is showing that we are allowing, some negative things to overwhelm us right now. Because the Three of Cups reversed is kind of feeling the emotions in excess. And so I feel there's this overwhelming outpouring of pain right now that is causing physical manifestations that aren't necessarily in your best interest. So all I can say is that, balance has to be achieved. We need to meditate this week. We need to maybe get out in nature. Enjoy, if you live in a state like Michigan, enjoy the beautiful fall colors that are going on. Wherever you're at, find something that is going to instill peace and tranquility.
I think it's also worthwhile to mention that the full moon today is doing some sort of configuration with Pluto, and I know that Pluto is either retrograding and or retrograding into another sign that it shouldn't, that it has bad
Right.
aspects with. So full moon always provides emotional considerations, emotional things happening. So that could be what's happening too right now.
So I pulled a couple Lenormand for your reading,
Alrighty.
and I've got the Rider. And by the way, I'm using Caitlin Matthews' Enchanted Lenormand today. The Rider and the Dog. So when you see a dog image, what do you think of?
Loyalty.
Mm-hmm. And what else if it was...
Friends.
Yes. People that are close to you. People that you trust. People that, have your confidence. Your friends. So basically, your allies as well. And so basically, you're going to get news from a friend or an ally of yours. I cannot tell if the news is good or not. It may, in fact, be playing into what's going on here. Like maybe something you hear from somebody close to you is going to send off this spiral of, excess negativity. In other words, maybe something, sorrow, they give you some bad news.
Be there for your friends. Be
Yes.
kind. Unless, of course, they're responsible for horrible things happening, then you don't have to necessarily be kind. But try to be helpful to people. I'm going to pull one final card as a summation to my spread. I don't always do this. I do it more often than not, though. So
No,
here
you
goes.
don't really. I ask you and you don't. So
And this is why, because it's another reverse card. So it's the King of Swords
Is it the
reverse.
King?
Yes, it is. No, I'm sorry. It's the Knight.
I knew that it was. I saw the
Oh,
horse.
stop that. Kings can ride a horse.
Yes, they can.
So to sort of summate or indicate any other thing going on here, the Knight of Swords reversed, to me, it sort of does indicate that there's a lot of going around despair, but I think it will also go away. It's just mostly hang in for the ride. It's a coming, it's a going, and I think that within a week we will probably move beyond it. We're certainly hoping so.
I hear what you're saying here because, yeah, that's perfect. It does mean that this whole situation is very transitory.
Yeah, that's a good way to put at it. You heard it here first. Saddle in for the week, but it'll be over in a minute.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness it'll be over in a minute.
We hope so.
We
do.
hope so.
Yes.
So hopefully it's nothing that has lasting implications for anybody. And wish we had better news, but not with those cards, sadly.
Oh, I see. It's because we use these cards.
Yeah, maybe we should have tried, I can't say that we aren't going to get any reversals here. And I haven't used this deck in a long time, and they were in order. I must have put them back in order for some reason. So I tried to mix them up real good, and they were all upright. So one would think we'd have a better chance of getting upright cards with these, but I have found some are definitely reversals.
Your images are mostly whimsical or
yes,
not?
Well, pretty much, I think.
Okay, so we're going to have a battle now. We're going to have an off-the-cuff battle.
Okay.
We're going to each read for each other, and that is just basically we're going to offer each person to pull a card, and this battle will be called Goth versus Whimsy.
Oh, jeez. So, but do we have a question? Do we?
No, it's just a simple reading of each other.
Okay.
You're going to pull a card. I'm going to read it. And
I have to pull one from the devil deck?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not a devil deck.
deck.
It's a vampire deck.
Just kidding.
I know you are.
Just all those reds, but of course, vampires, blood. Haha.
Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
No cuts. Just pull one. I'll even let you decide if you want it to be reversed.
How about if we don't look at it till you pull one?
Yeah, why not?
See, we kind of improvise as we go sometimes with these games.
Yep. And that's something I really want to do more of too. More things that border on that improvisational thing.
Oh, I don't know why I'm doing this for you.
That's okay.
But maybe I just wanted to mix them up more. There, go ahead, pick a card. Okay, he's digging deep. He's diving deep. All right.
And do I have that option to read it as an upright or reverse?
I think you should read it the way it falls.
Okay, very good then.
Let's go.
So.
Oh, funny, mine is upright.
Okay, well you
and mine is reversed. The one
you
that
pulled the reversed Page of Swords. God, he's ghastly looking, eh? And
yes.
I pulled the Four of Chalices with a sleepy kitty under the tree, the cherry blossom tree. So, how do we want to do these? Is this you because you pulled that? Is that card cover you? If it covers you, the Page of Swords reversed, you're going to be moving into something that's a little bit prickly and or where you won't feel you have any grace or tact or diplomacy to be able to deploy yourself. You're going to sort of feel like you may have to be blunter than you want to be, or that you won't really get a chance to show yourself in a more calm light.
Well, on the other hand, your card that you pulled is showing a very calm, contemplative demeanor right now. The Four of Cups. It's somebody who is just kind of holding themselves back and maybe staying away from the world of action and activity and pleasure to really, think about things, evaluate their lives, do something differently, meditate.
Well, in what ways are they similar, and in what ways are they opposite, or what do they give to each other?
Well, what do they give to each other? I think this card obviously gives the benefit of some peace and serenity and pulling back from struggles.
Right. This card feels like it's challenged itself to take a time out and really consider, things going on.
Yeah. So that was slightly interesting. I still like my deck more.
Slightly interesting, yes. That's probably what it was.
I like my deck more.
So I think we'll just run through a few announcements at the moment. One being that we are on Facebook for those who may be catching us here. And there is our Facebook, TFT Tarot for Today. We also broadcast here twice a week, Thursdays from 2 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then Sundays from 2 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. We also are doing Halloween haiku this week, which we've talked about earlier. And haiku is just a poetry form that's kind of short and simple. And we think people really like that, actually. If you happen to be somebody who produces your own tarot cards and you want to have them shown, we would be happy to use and show them. You do have to give us permission, so that's how you can do this. Contact us at our Gmail address. And what do you want to do next then, Banshee?
You know, I was sitting here and I was thinking to myself, wouldn't it be kind of cool to just do a 3-month forecast for what might be going on in world affairs or even national affairs, just see what comes out?
Yes, that would be interesting.
So we could do one for this month, like we did for K-Dash. We could do one for this month, next month, and I want to use my cat deck.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Why would you do that?
Because that's why I brought it. We can use that old deck anytime.
That's true. And it is an old deck.
It is. I might keep this one down for Thursday's broadcast too, but I'm going to try to switch up my decks from time to time and do some different ones. Okay, I'm going to let you shuffle, and you can cut for me. It's really a gorgeous day here in Michigan today. The sun is shining, a little cool on the cool side because there's a nice wind blowing. I hope it doesn't blow down all the leaves before they change color. That would be a disappointment.
I was out yesterday and it was pretty windy in parts.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say to go ahead and cut?
Yes. On our Facebook and our Twitter pages, I just shared a fall leaves reading that I created, a spread, a tarot or divination spread called Let the Leaves Fall Where They May. So you may want to check that out on our Facebook and Twitter pages. Okay, so this month. Well, it looks like financial things are going to improve, I think, world finances. And, ironically about that, and this is not getting political, this was in the news, that supposedly the president signed a deal with the Chinese to, for some of the tariff things that were going on, a trade deal. So maybe that's playing into this to some extent. I noticed the stocks responded to it Friday. So maybe it is just showing that financially right now and materially things are going to be smooth for this month. Seems to be the focus.
Right. It's probably about capital being used to start some new projects and things like that.
Yes, beginnings. It could also be the beginning of this deal with China, I guess, too. So, yeah, good point.
Okay, very good.
And next month, we have, that's the two of, High Priestess, right?
No, it's the Two of Swords.
Oh, it's the Two of Swords. Oh, walking on the tightrope. Yep. So when I saw the moon, I thought of HP.
It's a pretty card.
The two of Swords is basically kind of a stalemate next month. Things aren't changing, it doesn't seem like a lot is going to be happening. There's going to be kind of a stalemate in things. I kind of find that hard to believe with what's going on in the world right now.
Well, part of the problem is that the energy of this card seems to indicate that the reason for the stalemate is because of some sort of access problems, that people don't see all the information or have access to the right people to understand the situation. And of course, if we're looking at this from a global perspective, it could just be that some governments and situations are always trying to limit information to some degree to people. And that's just any government.
And 3 months from now, talk about a turn of events.
The 5 of coins upright.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, 3 months from now is around the holiday time, and this is not necessarily a good card to have because it seems to indicate that people will be having a harder time globally with understanding where need is overtaken or taken care of by institutional qualities. And so that some people will feel that there are things that should be helping the world from an institutional point of view. Part of that problem may be, and maybe this goes into the idea of information being accessible, is that people don't know how to find these things. Somehow this message of institutional qualities that might be helpful is hidden or not as known as it should be. What do you want to say there?
Well, I kind of feel as though it means that help is maybe available, but it is not forthcoming. For some reason, maybe somebody is withholding aid, for example, or things of that nature. So I don't know. That's the way I look at it. Is like the aid is there, but it, like he said, it's getting at it. But I get the feeling that for some reason in this case with it upright, that it may be being withheld. And especially since it's coming off the heels of this card here, the Two of Swords. That's why I feel that way.
Which kind of indicated that too.
Yeah. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Should I draw any Lenormand on that one, do you think? Or leave
Why
it at
not?
that? Why not?
Go ahead and do it.
All right, I will. I will because I can.
And we are rounding up to the end of our first hour of broadcast. So it may be a good time to see if there's anyone out there that was interested in one of our readings. We can do a general reading, a short one, or a short reading about a specific question. So anyone out there wants to ask?
Okay, I'm going to
be
take...
able to receive.
Yeah, see that? I got the fish and the mountains. And so it means that the flow of resources is impeded. There are obstacles. Kind of falls right in with that Five of Pentacles card right there that I was talking about.
Whoops.
Oops. There it
the
is.
So a fish that can climb the mountains is how some people look at Capricorn, because part of him is a mountain goat and then the other part of him is a fish. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe it's a mountain goat that wants to swim in the ocean.
Why is this reminding me of a Geico commercial right now?
But from that point of view, the idea is it's about ambition. Oh, we're having some problems with our stream. We just had a red light. But it went away. It went away. So we might have dropped a frame or two. So maybe I'm just leaning on the table too much. So to me, these cards, because of that astrological idea there, I'm thinking this is a thing about ambition. And of course, when you think about the world status, it usually is about ambition. It usually is about somebody trying to position themselves, even if it's about peaceful things. Somebody always wants to be on top of that pile. You know, it's the Pope or it's, you know, the UN or somebody like that wants to say that they did the right thing for the world. So there's a sense of ambition there. Or if it's people who have more horrible schemes in the world, it's about ambition.
Well, thanks for that interpretation of my Lenormand. You did not like my Geico joke? Did you know what I was getting at there? It was because you said Capricorn is what? Part fish and part goat? And I was thinking of the Motor.
Oh, the Motor is extremely...
Or is that progressive? I got the wrong one. It is
yeah.
progressive.
But I like that
Geico.
Motor commercial.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
So part motorcycle, part man.
So that's what's up with that reading. And
Yes.
like I mentioned, if there's anybody that has an idea for wanting a reading, now would be a good time to ask that.
Otherwise, maybe it's time to shake it up a little bit with, I don't know, the question deck or...
The question deck can be fun.
Or the question deck. Because I'm saving the reincarnation cards for a little bit later in our next hour.
Alrighty then.
So, are we going to use you want to lay out your vampire ones in a big pile and
Yes,
we'll
it's
use those?
still the Halloween season, of course, so.
We'll use his Vampire Tarot. Is it called the Vampire Tarot?
It's called the Vampire Tarot.
Okay.
I understand that there's another one called Tarot of the Vampires or something like that. I do have another deck where all the characters look like vampires, but it's called the Gothic Tarot or something like that. And it's kind of nice, but it's tiring because there's a sameness to the pictures, and all of the Gothic characters look all about the same. A lot of dark blues and blacks and whites and grays.
Hey, this might be a good one considering your weekly reading. How can one get off of an emotional roller coaster? So let's see what the tarot has to say about that. Do you want to draw one or me? I'll let you go first. Oh, okay.
Well, the Four of Pentacles, upright. How can one get off an emotional roller coaster? I'm thinking this card says that probably it's time to think about financial stability or some sort of sense of stability, to basically put your focus more on needs, financial or along those lines.
Wow. That was pretty good, actually.
You think so?
Yes, I do. I like that. I'm trying to think another way I might go with the Four of Pentacles, because it is somebody holding on to their coins and focusing on their resources. And that's why you said that. I agree. But I started to think about it in a more relationship-oriented way. Because oftentimes it's our relationships that put us on an emotional roller coaster. That's not necessarily true, but I went that way with it. And so I thought it might mean that you need to not hold on so tightly to something. You know, whether it's cherished beliefs or values, whether it's a person you're possessing too strongly, you need to step back and let go and loosen your grip on something.
Well, if we look at the card as being that the parable or whatever relates to the concept of the vampires, we also see too that the idea here is that these are just assets to him rather than human beings, and that he may like them on some level, but really they're just sort of his assets. And so this is kind of saying like the time is really not focusing on those softer qualities around that. The time is really more about the reality.
Yep. Very good. Are there any wrong answers here? Not with this question deck. So we'll use our imagination, inspiration, intuition to try to come up with an answer.
A hero is the Ten of Pentacles. Reversed. So the hero is somebody who can navigate the difficulties of their past. You know, maybe they had a rough childhood. Maybe they did not have everything they needed to survive at certain points, and it is somebody who is able to rise above physical limitations to, achieve hero status, to move beyond the pains and sorrows or the lack, to do something really wonderful with their lives, and to also help and benefit others. A hero is somebody who doesn't necessarily need a certain level of foundation around them. That a hero is somebody who sometimes has to rise above that sense of having no foundation, having nothing really to lean on other than themselves. And we like to think that almost all of us have a family, have some sort of foundation. And a hero may, but a hero probably may not, and that they basically have to rise above that.
So basically, that's. Do you want to do one more?
Yeah,
How
let's do
about
one
this
more.
time we each draw a card and just interpret what we. Well, we can help each other with it, but let's draw one each for this one. And the question is, what does life demand of us? Too much if you ask me, she says without even pulling a card. All right, let's pull cards for this. I've got one right here. Okay. I've got Justice reversed.
I have the Four of Wands reversed.
So what does life demand of us as far as Justice reversed goes? I would say it demands of us to fight for those who are not achieving justice, to fight injustice. That's what life demands of us. What do you say to that one?
Life demands that we address social justice issues. Life demands that we respect fairness and the rule of law.
Very
Now,
good.
mine, I'm having a little bit harder time because, of course, typically this card is not necessarily really bad upside down. It's the Four of Wands reversed. But I get the feeling like the Vampire Tarot has a different interpretation in mind for that.
Well, I have an idea.
Go ahead.
For me, since it is card that's kind of, things could be better, but they're okay. So it's kind of a card of maybe, some good times, but not so great times. How about life demands us to rise above the mundane and make something better out of our lives?
Okay, that's pretty good. I think too that sometimes within the terminology of a vampire tarot, life demands that we figure out what it is that wants to take us from the world, that we figure out how to get back into the world, because sometimes life is not always on our side. So we have to figure out how to get ourselves back in the world, how to enjoy it.
Very good.
All right.
That concludes the question deck for today. Your cards were pretty good for that one. I like them.
Thank
Even
you.
though they're vampire, gothy.
Well, it challenges me a little bit because I get the feeling that vampire culture, goth culture, is something I'm not incredibly well acquainted with. I have my own feelings about that, but so this deck kind of challenges me to look at that from a possibly more vampire melancholy point of view. I don't know. Any goths out there could probably talk about it better than me. But I'm very old school goth because I actually, to me, think that to some degree, gothic culture started to happen. I don't think it really came from this, but it started to happen around the era of the Dark Shadows, because that was a revival of gothic culture, and it now brought to the new TV phase in the late 60s. There was just a lot of things happening there. And I think we had Gothic culture before that in the maybe Victorian era, the first part of last century, or maybe in the 20s was the last time there was some Goth culture. But they didn't call it that back then. I'm not sure what they might have called it.
No, they did not. Well, earlier today I was playing around with my little new pendulum board that I had gotten from the show. I'm just showing that off again. And I had a nice little pendulum. The pendulum I believe that I used is made with... maybe I'll just show that one off now that the cat is gone and is not going too bad at it. I believe this is moss agate. If we could show it up close there, you can see the nice mossy color of the green. And so that's moss agate. And it was fun. But, I like using pendulums. It's tricky to try to make sure you're not moving it. It's kind of like the concept of the planchette on the spirit boards, the Ouija boards.
That's very interesting you mention it. I'm just going to throw this interjection in here because,
Sure.
of course, for decades now, there's been a controversy that people using Ouija boards or planchette boards, message boards, it's some conduit straight to hell. And
Yes,
somebody
some doorway.
said, but isn't it
Well,
really just a lot like psychometry and pendulums? And I thought, at last somebody gets it. Because it's true. They really depend more upon nerve motor activity, and or, I mean, if you're opening your mind up from a Ouija board to demons, then you're opening your mind up to a pendulum too.
Well, and let's put it this way. If you're, you can open your mind up to that kind of energy in a lot of other ways. It's not just a Ouija board, you don't necessarily need that as your doorway. And so I think like anything you use, you can use with negative undertones or positive ones. And you can shield yourself from letting negative, things enter your sphere.
Well, this is the Halloween season, and so it's all too easy to, think, that there's, these, dangers awaiting us here. But a lot of it, is just within ourselves,
shows nicely
within
here.
our own minds. And the thing is it's like Salem, these people weren't witches. They were just being harassed by bratty teenagers for the most part.
So anyway, I have what I showed you up there was a bigger pendulum board, and it's got a lot of things on it. It's got the days of the week. It's got more choices for yes, no. It's got yes, rephrase, no, maybe. It's got days of the week. It's got numbers. It's got astrological signs. So let's just say, not that I'm really interested in this at this point, Mr. O, but let's just say I wanted to ask, will I be meeting someone soon, a new relationship? And what sign, what should I be looking for? What sign would they be in? Or you could even ask it more generally, like, what sign is one that I should pay attention to, would be a good relationship for me, in the future. And then you try to hold it, and my hand shakes, so this is going to work really well. So that's just it. I'm going to just sit here and talk to the camera and stare at the camera and see if it's going to move on its
You're
own.
only on this camera.
I'm looking at the main camera right now.
But you're not on camera.
Oh, well then nobody knows that I'm not looking at the...
Well, they knew because they're looking at the side cam.
Okay.
Which...
So they can see that I am staring straight ahead and not looking
I'm going to let them have both views. Okay. There we go.
Just to keep me honest. Maybe I should actually look the other way. Is it starting to swing some which way?
A little bit, but I'm not sure that that's what it is.
Well, we're only going to do this for so long. You have to be patient with some of these devices.
Did you have a question?
I did.
Well, maybe it's going to Virgo. I'm not sure.
It is going more to Virgo. Oh, my. Well, traditionally,
and of course,
I haven't gotten along well with Virgos.
It swings all the way there and all the way back, which of course is Pisces. So
yeah, that's true. But it was really swinging more this way, and that's the point with some of this stuff. The pendulum can end up swinging both ways, and then you have to determine.
What am I supposed to ask that involves a sign?
Well, you could ask if you're going to meet somebody under that sign, who might be a mentor to you under that sign, who's a good influence for you.
So I should have a sign in mind?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
No, you shouldn't have a sign in mind. You should ask it for the sign. Like, for example, who would be my worst enemy? What sign of the zodiac will my worst enemy come from?
What sign of the zodiac is my worst enemy from?
And you are staring at it, but that's okay. Because we have to try to be honest with it. And some of these tools are easier to do, to be honest with, than others, frankly. But no matter what you use, you can always...
Well, now it's swinging towards Taurus. Right?
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I'd rather
Okay.
not say anything at the moment.
Well, thankfully I am not a Taurus.
No, and you're not at work either.
Well, did you ask at work?
No, I didn't. Whoops. So bad.
There you go. So at any rate, that was just a little bit of pendulum fun. At this time of year, people do a lot more divination and fortune telling. They want to know their future. The year's coming to an end. They want to know what's ahead. And so there's all kinds of fun tools to play with in that regard.
Well, we are now... Hi, Smiling Soul. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome, Smiling Soul.
We are now into our second hour.
Ugh.
Were you working on homework? So Banshee's bringing out all of her little things.
We have something kind of neat here. This particular, well, first off, there were some early attempts at trying to come up with a divination tool to talk about people's possible past lives. And, you've been here before. You have a feeling of deja vu that you've been on this planet sometime before in some other locale. The first attempt that I came across was something called the Phoenix cards, and it was created in 1990 by Susan Shepard, illustrated by Tony Taylor. The sad thing is I was not able to find my deck. I found the book, but I could not find my deck, so I'm just going to show you the cover and just talk a little bit about what it did. So there it is, the Phoenix cards. Phoenix rises again, right? The image of the Phoenix is pretty appropriate for past lives. And so basically, this was a rather limited deck. I felt the only problem I had with it, because I liked the cards, is I felt they could have added more cards, maybe more time periods. Some things were not as developed fully as I would have liked, but each card would give you, for example, a symbol, in an interpretation of the symbol, the place that this card represented, like the place where you lived, the time frame that you lived in, the groups of people that you might have been a part of, what tribe, etc., language groups, how you looked, different personality traits. I mean, and a conclusion where they bring it all together. I really think it was a worthy attempt, and I enjoyed playing with this a lot back in the day. Let me just pull up an example of one of the cards. Are they showing the card itself?
I remember we played this at a couple of parties, and it was kind of fun. People liked it.
Show that picture. It's a Chinese bear. Okay.
That is kind of interesting. He looks a little sinister.
So obviously that's from some era in China, I believe. And so it was kind of like that. You'd pull these cards, a certain number of them, and or actually I think you would just pull one and it would give you the time frame and everything. It would be the past life. I think there were a couple different ways to read them in the book. I'm not going to focus a lot of my attention on that since I could not find the cards. But what I do have is this really awesome tool called Awakening Far Memory, which is reincarnation cards. And this is a very, very intricate tool. I only wish that maybe an expansion pack had come out with it so they could have even went further. But they really did a great job in developing this one. For example, the deck consists of subdecks. And so you have this, I'm just going to kind of hold them up here. You have this greenback deck, and I'll explain what they are in a minute. You have this, you have a red deck. You have a purple deck. Da, 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 da.
Who did you say make this deck?
Oh, this deck is by, you know what? I did not say, so thank you for that.
Uh-huh.
It is by, why don't I see it? Is it on the book? It is on the book. For some reason, it's not in the box. John M. Knowles and Linda LeBlanc did this deck.
Is it self-published?
I believe it is a smaller publisher because,
Guerma
yeah,
Publishers.
I have
Sounds
not
Egyptian.
heard of them. But
Nice little book.
But what an awesome concept this deck was. And so basically, again, we have also a blue, I believe, and we have a white, gold, however they provide it here. And so all of these cards, you would draw one of each of these cards. I made a little cheat sheet for them. So I'm going to have him hold one up while I explain it. So basically you draw randomly from one of the piles, get one card from each pile, and the blue ones talk about the culture that you were part of. The green ones are the environment you lived in. Was it by a lake? Was it mountainous? Was it in forests? The occupation you had at that time, the theme for that life that you lived in, and how you died. It's called termination, and that's the purple. The theme is red, the occupation is white. So I just thought on a whim here, we could try one for ourselves and give you just an example of how this works. Do you dare?
Yes, please.
So what I would just do is, you could just mix a pile a little bit and grab a card, and we'll lay it out here. I'll keep them upside down for now, or, reversed for now. Don't take a lot of time because there's lots of cards, okay? That's one. He pulled the purple, which will be your death. Okay, that is your environment. So when we would take these to parties, when we read for groups of people, I had this cheat sheet made so people could write down their information and, what cards they drew. And then they could look it up in the book and see what it had to say about, that particular time period and that aspect of the past life. So we're going to give you an example of how this works. All right, so why don't we start with the top one here, which is the blue circle, which is the culture you were a part of. And what does the card say? The Dark Ages.
The Dark Ages.
So what was the time period for that about, roughly? I'm going to put you on the spot.
The Dark Ages is kind of like circa 800, maybe a few hundred years before that, till about 1100s.
Okay.
1200s at some, but yeah, circa 800,
The environment is the green card, so let's see what environment you were in the Dark Ages. Okay, so you were in a river type environment.
So yes, I might have been in a more tropical area possibly, or, rivers could be all over Europe too. So, but yeah, somewhere near a riverfront, a river area.
Your occupation is the white one.
Okay, and I probably wasn't a lawyer per se, but I was probably somebody that helped arbitrate legal things, or maybe by that culture's standards, I was a lawyer.
Or a judge, perhaps. Does it say lawyer?
It says law.
It says law.
So,
it could even be law enforcement of some sort.
Okay, that's a
grim
thought.
The theme is the red.
Power.
Power. Law and power, that's a scary combination.
So yeah, I was probably in some sort of government or authority position in a riverfront town of some sort.
Well, do tell, how did you die?
Oh, I bet you it was tragic. Very tragic. There was a great song sung about me. Looked like my castle got
You
stormed.
were attacked, probably because of your power-hungry nature.
Mean. So somebody finally got fed up and said, we're going to wait for this dude. We're going to wait for him, take him down the alley, throw him in that river.
It's really ironic here that the first page I turned to, just flipped to the page, was the power card. So let me read a little bit of what it says about power.
Why, do tell.
The symbol of the thunderbolt or lightning strike indicates an emanated apparent lifetime characterized by the possession and exercise of power. over oneself and or over others. This power may have been physical, mental, psychic, or spiritual. You must know, however, that with power comes responsibility. The incarnate personality's greatest problem was, and remains, the need to exercise firm control over itself and not to abuse the weak and the defenseless. Much adverse karma can result from these unequal situations. But all is forgiven in the end. There is no purgatory or hell, just another chance to do better next time. But the thing is, he got attacked, and it might be because he was doing an abuse of power. You can really dwell and meditate on these cards or come up with stories even. That's why I said this particular type of deck is a great one to maybe create a short story out of.
I was a bad boy.
What was that Riverine card? Do you know where that one was? The green? What number was that? 36? I just wanted to look up that environment real quick. I won't read it. So it's being by water, the banks of a river, or the shores of lakes. He refers to things such as the Nile, the Tigris, the Euphrates, Ganges, St. Lawrence. He's got it all over. But considering you were in the Dark Ages,
Well, it was more likely in Europe, I think, possibly. It could have been somewhere else.
This also, taps into your imagination to fill in some gaps and fill in the story. If you don't mind, I would like to read a little bit about your attack demise.
Uh-oh.
See what it says here. Not happy, not a happy thing. Although this card appears to suggest sudden, deliberate termination at the hands of another human being, its meaning extends far beyond this, to include as well the violent termination of any incarnation caused by any other living creature. So in other words, you could have been attacked by an animal. You could have been attacked by something else.
Interesting.
One may have succumbed to an attack by a predator, such as a shark or crocodile. You're by water, so there you go. Death due to snake bite is not uncommon. The attack category might also include death due to warfare, but there are reasons for treating war as a separate category. They treated that as a separate category. So you can see, I think, a lot of thought went into creating this deck, and it's pretty cool. It's just a lot of fun to work with. And why look at this concept of past lives at all? Can you think of a good reason for that?
Well, obviously there are lessons to learn from past lives, but the whole idea of past lives is usually connected to the idea of karma and the fact that karma follows us in between our lives, and
Perfect.
sometimes karma is not resolved totally in a past life, and so it represents a lesson that is still to be learned.
Right. So if you believe in the concept or the possibility of past lives that we have been on this planet, or hey, some other planet, living a life, then yeah, some people believe you carry karma or attachments from previous lives. Like, for example, maybe some people who have an unreasonable fear of snakes, for example, might have succumbed to a snake bite in a previous past life, and that residual trauma remains.
Right. There's any number of ways to look at it. I mean, I once knew a person who felt that her own work with regression suggested that her less than perfect body, she had some physical problems, was a result of an incarnation where she was an unscrupulous moneylender during the Renaissance era, and she just always, was, pay me. And so she was a devastating person, and she felt that there was that balance. Like, now she knows what it was like to not be able to have something.
Well, you know what? Oops, this one got in the wrong pile.
Oh, well.
I don't want to miss out on the fun myself, so I'm going to just pull a quickie for myself and just see what I get. So these cards, for all I know, may still be available, say, on Amazon or some other place. I just think, I just hate to see that they have gone away, because this is just really fun. And I do think I want to look them up again to see if I can, see if maybe they enhanced this deck, or there's a new edition out with more cards or something like that, because I really think they did a great job with this one. It's a lot of fun.
I noticed, Banshee, that you just
I turned them
revealing
over.
the cards, and so the first card you revealed was actually how your life ended.
This does make
That's kind of twisted.
Especially since I am a fire sign, no?
Yes.
Well, here we go. Oh my. Well, I was an interesting person, wasn't I?
Give us the narrative.
Okay, so basically the culture that I belonged into, the blue one, is the Renaissance. So is the Renaissance...
Does that mean the time period or the culture?
The circle. It says the culture.
Okay.
And the environment... Actually, I guess it's like a time period, too, because there really is not a time period
right,
here.
The Renaissance is a specific time period from the 1500s or so.
So then the green is the environment, and that is, I lived in a foresty area during the Renaissance, and my occupation was
A trader.
trader. That meant I traded goods or services. And the theme,
Growth.
finding it here, was growth. Probably financial growth and wealth, because, traders, they want to make a lot of money, I'm sure. It's kind of like our shopkeepers of today.
So how did you die?
Oh man, how did I die? Well, I was in a forest area. I died by fire. So it's kind of morbid. Let's take a look at that for a minute. We'll look at fire. See what kind of lasting implications that might have had for me here in my present life. I am pretty cautious with fire, though, aren't I?
Well, maybe that's why,
Yeah,
because
I know.
you died in your last lifetime from fire.
Well, last lifetime, you mean I haven't been here since the Renaissance? I hope I have.
Well, it's hard to say, but that's what some people, there's
That's
like
true.
a conceit about us lifetimes that we are back like just in a minute. And a lot of people think that if we're more ancient souls, we spend hundreds of years in between lifetimes because we're often in the astral realms resting or learning new things that way. It's hard to say.
So 54, fire. Early humans owed their survival to their ability to master and to utilize naturally occurring fire, as from lightning strikes, to warm themselves, to cook their food, and to drive away dangerous animals. Yet, while a friend to humanity, fire can also be a very dangerous enemy if not treated with the greatest respect. Forest and prairie fires, see, have taken countless lives, as have fires inadvertently caused in homes from the earliest times. Aside from deaths by accident, however, many thousands of people have been deliberately put to death by fire for having had the temerity not to meet the standards of behavior and belief laid down by the majority amongst whom were so unfortunate as to reside. So I believe they're talking about like witch burnings here. Yep, there it is. Inquisitions and witch hunts have been instituted by the intolerant majority throughout the ages. Fire has often been the execution method of choice to do away with those who have transgressed the norms of their fellows. Thousands of people have perished in fires as well, by nuclear radiation generated in the course of bombings of cities, in times of war and other offensive actions. Death by fire is extremely traumatic and highly likely to have left a very sharp and distinct impression on the individual psyche. Your selection of this card may trigger a memory of an experience as either an innocent victim, a witness, or even an instigator of such an incident. Whether punisher or punished, however, it must be regarded now, as it was even then, as simply another temporary state of consciousness to be viewed with total detachment and thus be transcended. Wow, I forgot how much I like this deck. We haven't brought this out in a little while,
It's
so
pretty
I
heady.
think it is pretty heady, and it's creative. I mean, it really does make you think a lot of the possibilities. What could this life have been like for me? You know?
Well, the thing is that in regression work is like meditation work in some ways too. And so the thing is that as we meditate on these things, maybe the narrative that develops is actually what is the reality. I mean, it may not be complete, but our mind fills in the gaps, as you say.
Right, right. And so I don't know, the chat's been kind of quiet on this one, but I hope you thought this was kind of cool because I really enjoy playing with them from time to time, whether they're valid past lives or not. Have you ever really felt you have been here before, and do you have anything to share about a possible past life?
Yeah, I think that my last past life was somewhere in the early first 20, 25 years of the 1700s, and that I might have been in the area that was the Pennsylvania territory, or that became Pennsylvania. It wasn't at that time. It was probably still Maine or Massachusetts. And I think I was a stable hand. I worked in a stable, and it was probably not a good outcome. But I also think I've had some more classical ideas that, I've been around since the Egyptian times and stuff like that.
Oh, let's talk about that a little bit because you used to have a funny saying about past lives, I believe. Everybody thinks that they were Cleopatra or some great prince or princess or
I
hero.
sort of did that from the inversion. I said, how come nobody remembers being a street cleaner in ancient Athens?
A dung sweeper. Yeah.
Somebody that flushed toilets for a living or scrubbed them, in Rome somewhere or Istanbul.
Well, and I do think that this deck does cross that line a little bit here. They will have, let's see, where would that be? Like occupations, for example. There's religious, military, builder, artist, courtesan, a farmer, a mother, educator, a beggar, government official, health, a laborer. I think they could have done more, because what about people who were slaves? What about people, well, the beggar, I suppose you can extrapolate on some of these things. People who were just self-employed, things like that. I'm not really sure it covers everything, and that's why I would have loved to see an expansion of this whole concept. This was the best, I think, way to manage something like this, and so I hope that more come out. If anybody ever hears of another deck that relates to past lives like this one, I definitely would be interested in checking it out.
Well, certainly now you have some ideas of what you would do if you were going to create a deck or some sort of situation
Indeed.
like this. Yes.
Yeah.
Filling in the gaps. Very nice.
So I think that, just not today, but I think maybe in one of our upcoming live streams between now and Halloween, which there isn't much time left, we will maybe open this up and we will draw cards for you, our viewing audience, and give you a little window into your past life. I don't think we have time to do that today, though, but I really wanted to introduce these cards.
Very nice. Thank you.
Okay, so I hope everybody enjoyed that. I'm going to put them away for now, but they are staying down here so that we can revisit this again before the Halloween season is over. Because this is the time to do a lot of introspective and meditative kind of work. And you can almost see here that, with these pictures and images and ideas that they give you, you could actually sit down and meditate and kind of clear your head and think about, what this life would have been like and maybe do some nice creative visualization in that regard.
So we are winding up the show. We are into our last half hour. What do you think we should do?
Well, I'm just curious to see if anybody has any questions that they want a reading.
Yeah, now would be a good time.
Now would be a great time.
And while we're waiting for anybody to do that, we'll just bounce around a little bit and remind people that our schedule will be back next Sunday from 2 to 4.
Right.
In between, we'll be back Thursday, 7 to 9 Eastern Standard Time.
Thank you.
What did you think I forgot?
I thought you
what
were
day
going
it
to
was?
forget Thursday. Yes.
No,
You kind of just jumped right over that.
And Thursday works out really nice for us because it is Halloween this year.
Yeah.
And of course, we have been doing Halloween haiku every day. And if you don't like Halloween haiku, well, you should.
We're sorry.
You should.
We're sorry, not sorry.
It's better than a toothache, which is what you're going to get if you eat too much candy.
Now, we did Oberon's Halloween haiku today. Mine will be tomorrow, but also every Monday we throw out an extra haiku that we collaborated on together. So that will be up and coming tomorrow. So tomorrow will be my day and then our collaborative day.
And the whole Halloween haiku started actually several years ago at my workplace. I have a couple of literary-minded friends who wanted to write Halloween haiku, so we just went ahead and started doing that. So some of my haiku goes back to that time. But you're also in a haiku kind of club of sorts.
Well, I started a writing group at work, so I write haiku there, but I write other forms of poetry as well. It's just that I glommed onto haiku because when I was teaching a tarot class years ago, I was trying to think of I told everybody in the class that we should all come up with some way that we can relate more to the cards. And for some people, that was like making collage artwork and bringing things in that represented their interpretation of the cards. For other people, it was coming up with a song that related to the cards in some way. I've used the example in the past of, like, for example, for the Fool, maybe the song Fool for the City or something like that. And I decided to write haiku for every single card in the tarot, a general interpretation of the symbols themselves, a haiku to represent the upright meaning of the card, and a haiku to represent the reversed meaning of the card. So that's 3 haiku per cards, and there are 78 cards. That's how I got started with really writing haiku. So it was a great exercise for me as a writer, but it was also a great exercise for me as a tarot practitioner.
Sounds like a lot of work, too.
It was a lot of work, too. It absolutely was a lot of work.
Well, you are a dedicated writer, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Well, so that's sort of the story of that. And we decided one year we were kind of having the battle of the haikus, and we used Halloween as the theme. So some of the haiku that you're seeing is from that time period, but we have added quite a bit since then. It became more of just a fun thing to do than a little battle between us.
And I think haiku is sort of a challenging form for me because it's actually sort of made me think in terms of haiku for answering things now. Now, when I think of poetry, it's actually my go-to form. I immediately start saying, like, okay, it's 1, 2, 3, counting off the syllables. And you do have to be clever to make it fit, depending on what your style is. I've seen haiku that sort of is a little more random, and so they might keep it to 7 syllables or 5 or whatever, but they don't necessarily keep it to one thought. They might end a thought and then with the remaining syllables start another thought. So that's kind of unique.
And, you know, they don't have to be funny. We just did that for Halloween. In America, haiku has been, I don't know, probably... I told somebody this once, that maybe the Japanese masters who created haiku or Chinese are rolling in their graves, you know, with what we have done with haiku since. But somebody said, no. This is exactly what they would be. They would be very happy to see this, you know, take off in the manner it has. Because in America, you know, people have done some silly things with the haiku. So we feel we're right in line with everybody else, and we're having a great time sharing them with everybody. And look who's come to join us. It is our Sunshine Cat. We had Sassy here in the beginning, and now it's the man, the sunny boy.
I just know he wants to talk. I know he wants to go meow.
Into the microphone, don't you?
He did that once during my meditation. It was kind of
No,
interesting.
he's staring at himself on camera.
He likes to do that,
He
too.
likes to look at my tablet and see himself. But there he goes. He's saying hi to everybody.
Hello, audience.
So, at any rate, the haiku, we're going to have a special surprise at a video that we're going to create where we will do a dramatic reading of all of our haiku that we presented, on Facebook and Twitter. So the haiku season is not over yet, the Halloween haiku, not by a long shot.
Yeah, I think that'll be a lot of fun because I want to pretend that I'm like my favorite horror host TV show.
We might film it up in our library too. We're talking about that, so we'll see. Maybe make it like a masterpiece theater production or something. We'll see.
Between two ferns.
Yes, really. So, at any rate, that's about it with the haiku. Anything else you want to tackle today?
I don't know.
We can also do our tarot for tomorrow reading if nobody has a reading.
Yeah, let's go ahead and
Would you
start
like to
that.
do
Maybe
that?
we could do that.
Can we use my Pagan Cax tarot for that one?
Would you like to?
Sure.
Alrighty.
All
So
right,
every night we do tarot for tomorrow, and that is a tarot reading of one card that's intended for the following day. And we post it on our Facebook page.
And now it's gotten a little more challenging for me to shuffle.
And we post it on, and it also goes to Twitter. And so it just is kind of like a general for the audience reading of that specific card and what that may apply to our viewing audience or to the entire world. Who knows?
He is not letting me shuffle at all.
Do you want me to shuffle?
He literally bumped me. We'll try. Let me do one more because that one was not a good one, in my opinion. But there we go. And you can take over. Speaking of past lives, I guess I've had a memory of a past life in, so vague though, so very vague. I think I was in a South American country and it just seemed very tribal to me. So I don't know exactly the time period. I couldn't get a beat on that, but I remember just a very hot, kind of humid environment that the earth just seemed very, very dark, kind of a ruddy color, clayish. That's what it seemed like to me.
And shuffled and cut.
Well, it's reversed. Remember what I've said about this card. Look what we've got for tomorrow again. He sighs. We keep using different decks, and yet sometimes we're still getting the same cards coming up. It's the Ten of Swords reversed, and the Ten of Swords reversed talks about, kind of a slight, I don't know how to say it, healing process in a way from some harm or hurt that was brought upon you. So it seems as though if it was upright, it would be far, far worse. If it's reversed, it just seems as though you're starting to get back on your feet again after some blow, some major blow or setback, usually caused by external forces, I would say.
Well, I think that for tomorrow, a lot of what this card tells us is that we're going into the week feeling unopposed. We're feeling like
Oh dear.
we've kind of taken care of some of the bad situations in our life, that if we've had some arguments, disagreements, enemy action, we have figured out how to reverse that, or how to extricate ourselves away from our enemies. And so it's like a really good position to start the week. This could possibly pertain to, that's funny, right? Did everybody see that? Oh,
Yeah.
there it is.
Sonny is like spreading the cards out. Maybe he didn't like the Ten of Swords reversed. Remember last live stream, he actually, while we were sitting here talking, all of a sudden I saw him in my rune leaf bowl, and he actually pulled out a rune leaf, which was really funny. So it was like he wanted his fortune read too.
Yeah, he's a cutie.
Oh, yeah. He's our little crazy cat.
He's the one who's the most often with us. So we were kind of surprised he wasn't here at the beginning because normally he's here from the beginning and he just hangs out.
Sassy took over, which was kind of cool in a way, as we rarely have seen her up on the table lately, ever since she yawned at your meditation.
Yeah, I was just upset with her because she yawned during my meditation.
One of his meditations. That was so funny. We did pull that tape out. So, any other thoughts about what we've got in store for Halloween?
No, I guess I'm gonna be doing a short, maybe about 15 minutes tarot card meditation. It'll sort of be a journey, and then the card reading itself will be shorter, and I'll just pull a few cards and meditate about those. And I'm gonna try to keep it in tarot and Halloween season, so there'll be some outdoor pictures, and some of it might be, cemeteries and some traditional Halloween things, but I don't want it to be totally scary or spooky. It'll be more about thoughtfulness. So we'll be doing that, and that'll probably be prepared and ready to show on the night of Halloween. I'm not exactly sure yet, but that'll be one of our Halloween extra features that we'll be doing along with the Halloween haiku that we'll show earlier that day.
Oh, and speaking of, you know what? We were devoting this to past lives today, and I completely forgot that in my infinite wisdom, I actually don't want to say that way because it almost sounds like somebody else saying that. I won't go there. But I, in my infinite wisdom, have pulled out a tarot spread that I created that is called I've Been Here Before, the Past Life Spread. So I'm just going to let you show that on camera.
Oh, it looks a little heady.
Yeah.
7 cards.
It is a 7-card reading. So that's why I say we, for eventually, for donation or price that to be determined, we will offer longer readings. And I've created a lot of spreads to choose from for readings for people. This one is relating to past lives. And today I shared a spread on Twitter and Facebook that I created. The Let the Leaves Fall Where They May spread. That's a spread that I showed on one of our previous live streams. I shared that with our Twitter and Facebook audiences. So maybe someday this one will get shared, or it'll be in a book if I ever publish it. But basically, you use the tarot cards to try to determine, what kind of past life you've led. And so card 1 would give you information about a past life. Card 2 would be, what kind of person were you emotionally, mentally, physically, or spiritually? And so it's calling upon you to look at the symbols on the card to determine, what it's trying to tell you about that past life. Card 3 would be about, what did I do for a living? Card 4 would be what my social life, my interpersonal relationships were like. Card 5 would be, what major challenges did I have to face in that life? Card 6 would be, what did I overcome the challenges I faced to lead a successful life? So I don't talk about termination here per se, but I talk about some of the challenges and difficulties maybe that you had to face from that life. And card 7 is, what was the karmic lesson I learned from that lifetime, and that you carried forward into, the present. So I think it's a pretty deep reading, yes, and I created it. So that's just a little something too I forgot to mention today. And who knows, maybe on Halloween we might be willing to do this reading for someone if they're interested.
Or we'll just sit around and eat candy.
Well, yeah, that could happen. I'm sure there will be candy on the table that night. I can almost guarantee it. But who will win the candy wars? Will it be licorice or will it be chocolate?
Let's ask the cards.
Wow.
Licorice or chocolate?
Neither. We're broke. We pulled the 5 of Pentacles reversed, which means no food, no food for you.
Well, I thought that was sort of like maybe moving away from the hopelessness. Now, for you, the hopelessness would be no chocolate.
The hopelessness would be licorice. Yeah, I would not. He likes. Well, what's your favorite licorice?
Oh, I like crows.
No. I mean, is it black or?
It's black licorice.
Okay, he likes the black licorice, which I do not like. So.
Well, I like black licorice. I like. Thank you. I like crows the best. Crows are kind of like a gumdrop in the fashion of the Dots
you, Laura.
candy. Only they're made by the people that make Dots candy. Only they're just a nice black licorice flavor, very chewy, sticks to my teeth all the time. I love that. I just love that. But I like Good and Plenty's. I like licorice gumdrops that have the sugary sprinkles all over them. Yum,
My
yum, yum.
teeth do not appreciate things that stick to them these days, let me just say. So that's why even caramel, to a certain extent, if it's the real gummy, stick to your teeth caramel, not the smooth, just go right down like a caramel sauce or something, that could be a problem for me. But I love me some Musketeer bars and Mounds bars and chocolate.
Well, these days I try to watch the chocolate, but I am a total sucker for Snickers, especially the little bite-sized ones. There's just something about the chewiness and the way the nougaty chocolate all swirls together. I just totally love that. I think that's what it is with the other candies I like too. I just like chewy candies as long as I don't feel them kind of like sucking out my dentures or my fillings, you know. No, I don't have dentures, but I have fillings or things that
You
I've
have
always
bridges,
wanted.
right?
Like, well,
Yeah.
are they going to come off, you know, because I'm eating something so chewy. Like, I would have to really watch taffy or Tootsie Rolls.
TMI.
But it's true. It's true. So, here we are.
So earlier, I don't know if anybody caught that, but when I was playing with my pendulum, Sassy was really interested in the pendulum swinging back and forth. That was in the beginning of our live stream, though, and some of that, our volume was messed up, and we didn't have our lighting quite right either, but everything got fixed. So we sometimes miss our producer because he used to make sure everything, but you know what? Do you remember in the beginning too? He would even forget to put the lights on sometimes.
Yeah, that happened a couple times.
Yeah,
yep.
it's easy mistake to make, so it happens. Yes, I'm shuffling my cards here. We have 10 minutes left, so if anybody has a quick yes/no reading, we could do it. But I think I also have a yes/no reading. And I'm asking a specific question that I unfortunately don't want to give you guys too much detail on. But I'm asking if something that I expect to happen tomorrow, is it going to happen? Oh, you want one, Smiling Soul? Okay. But let me finish mine first. I promise you I'll be brief. I just want to know. Oh, do I have to move? All right, we'll get to that. Shuffle the cards. Just let me finish mine. I just want to know if something that I've been thinking about tomorrow is really true, if it's really going to happen. Yes. And I went to a psychic fair this weekend, and I spoke with somebody in vague terms about something I was concerned about, and I wanted to see what they'd say. And it almost confirmed everything that I was thinking. So I want to see what my cards say today. Oop, got confused. Well, maybe it's not going to happen, but it doesn't look all that great. And look, there's that Ten of Swords reversed again.
Well, of course, in a more different kind of way, it means the overthrow of evil forces or forces against you.
And this one is the Four of Wands reversed, though, which again, maybe it's not going to be as bad as I thought, but it's not going to be all that great either. It's just something I'm going to have
Is
to...
the question better being no or leaning towards no?
I would rather... Well, yeah, maybe. Because if it came out the way that I fear it would, if I had gotten a yes on my fears, I wouldn't have liked it. So no leaves it open to, well, you're not going to be totally happy about what transpires tomorrow, but it's not going to be the end of the world. At least that's what it looks like. So I'm going to hope that's true. And now with Smiling Soul, I am going to shuffle the cards and ask the question if you have to move.
Let's see if we have time to do one for Mimi.
Oh, is Mimi okay. But let's just get Smiling Soul done. We will stay a little overtime if we have to, Mimi, to get your question in. But right now we're going to do this for Smiling Soul, who had a question about a move. Okay.
I shuffle?
Yeah.
Does Smiling Soul have to move? Do you want me to cut or do you want to cut?
If the camera's warbling, it's because Sunny is moving the table. So apologies, you can cut. That's fine. Whoa. And he almost cut for us.
And off he goes. Oh my God.
Oh boy, that cat. Okay. Whoa. That Ten of Swords again. How did that happen? Well, it is reversed. Actually, Smiling Soul, you got the probability of yes here, and that you are going to have to move. However, it sounds like it's in your best interest to do so, according to the Ten of Swords reversed. Don't you think?
Yeah, it seems to me like maybe it would actually be a cloud with a silver lining.
In other words, you may not be happy about the fact that you have to move, but the move will probably, in the end, promote more of a healing process of some sort, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I would think that you're actually confronting what's bad in the situation, and you're finding a way to get on top of that. Is what I feel, Smiling Soul.
Okay, Mimi, I see what you've got here. It looks like you're interested in finding out about two different people. So we're going to do a 3-card reading, and I'm going to draw one of we'll draw a card for one of the persons, we'll draw a card for the other person, and then we'll see what the third card reveals about the situation in general. And then I might toss a couple of Lenormand into the mix. I don't know, Smiling Soul. I got the feeling from looking at those cards that it could go either way. I think it could be a forced move. I'm leaning more that way, but it could go either way. That it could be you that makes that decision.
Well, I'm thinking that probably it is more of you're not really, prepared for it or not really wanting to do it at this time, but I'm thinking it's a cloud with a silver lining. We're going to stay a little bit after time to try to get to these readings.
We'll absolutely stay for you too, Laura, so hang in there with us, and we'll finish this one for Mimi.
Okay.
You cut?
Yes.
Okay. So the first card is going to be about Dario. And the first card is the Three of Wands. The Three of Wands is a very interesting card in this.
Dario seems to be a person who is ready for things to happen and has already planned for things to happen and is just waiting for them to come in and feels that it's happening.
Maybe waiting for the appropriate moment.
Right.
Okay. And
Is that what you got?
that is
Okay.
what I got. And Saudi, let's see, what does that say? That is the
Eight of Wands reversed.
Eight of Wands reversed. Well, I'm not sure about Saudi. Saudi might be moving on to something.
Saudi could also be
Oh, wait.
distracted because
Distracted.
there's
Yes.
a lot of
Sorry.
movement for Saudi, and maybe it's not distraction so much as fatiguing, that maybe Saudi needs to kind of chill. Maybe Saudi has
A
lost
lot
some
going
of the
on
energy.
right
A
now.
lot going on.
I feel a lot of conflict, competing interests, maybe even. So you have to keep that in mind with Saudi, I think. And let's see what this third card indicates. Well, that's very interesting as well.
It's kind of interesting because, of course, you asked about two different situations or persons, and here's you possibly juggling them, and maybe you want to consider that you do have to let somebody go, or you do have to decide a better way to handle the situation, because right now what that situation looks like is there is some stress, or there's some amount of dealing with to handle that. It doesn't look incredibly painful or hurtful, but you may burn out. You may have some burnout from that.
Yes, and also, it's very clear here, with it reversed, it seems like you are trying to figure out which one should be the one you really focus on.
You got a Lenormand over there?
I've got the Lenormand, and I'm going to draw just a couple too to add a little bit to this reading, Mimi.
We
Hopefully.
usually pull a Lenormand, which is another divination system, and then we try to use that to texture the reading of tarot. So what you got?
Is one of these persons, Mimi, somebody that maybe you're going to school with or that you work with in some capacity?
Which is that card? The Moon?
Actually, both of them are work cards in a certain extent. The Fox can be like a coworker or some peer, and the Moon is indicating a workplace or a successful work environment, an educational environment. But I could also take this another way, is that you have to use cleverness to achieve success with this relationship. In other words, I think you have to choose wisely here to, be successful in a relationship with one of these people.
Mimi, I don't do the Lenormand like Banshee over here, but I do work with symbols. And so these symbols are telling me that whether it is a workplace thing or not, these people are kind of in your environment to the point where, like, maybe I can see they're both looking at you too, that both of these people do have their own sense of interest in you, or something like that. And so you were wise to ask that question, because I guess they're both interested in getting to know you better or more, whatever that is. But I also get the feeling too, like maybe they're slightly not conceited, but also conceited towards each other. Like they each feel like they may have some sense or awareness of each other, and maybe to them this is a little bit of a game, a competition to see who gets closer to you first. I don't know. I just sort of feel that there.
Well, I now that you brought up competition, I think sometimes that's what I was talking about in terms of the cleverness goes. It seems like there might be some competition, not just for your attention, but to get their attention. So, because they may have other people that they are associating with or interested in, or at least one of them does. So that may be a factor in how these things play out. But so that's all we have on that right now. Can you think of anything else to add to that?
No, I think that was probably pretty solid there. So
We should move on to Laura because
we
it's
appreciate you,
4:02. Yeah, Mimi, do feel
you.
free to come back, and we'll be happy to spend a little more time doing another question
update
for
with
you
us
on
and
one
tell
of
us how
our
it's going.
upcoming live streams.
Okay, so you need those again?
Yes, thank you.
All right, so we're going to take Laura. Now, did you have a question, Laura, again? This is going to be our final reading of the day. Maybe Sunny has the reading. Look at him. Aw.
I am trying desperately to find a place to shuffle. Okay, Laura, and whenever you're ready, just let us know what your question is. Oh, man. No matter which way I do the cards, I can't win with this cat. Okay. Okay, Laura, are you still with us? Oh, there we go.
2020.
A message for 2020. All right.
Let me shuffle too.
So we'll do the
I'm thinking my
three-card
best
message for
thoughts
that.
possible for 2020 for you. I'm peering into the future here, trying to see what this year will bring for you. The year itself, 2020, would be a number 4 year. So that has financial aspects in general, because I believe that aligns it with Jupiter. Something that's coming up for you. Are you ready?
Yes. Okay, yeah, something that's coming up in 2020.
There you go. Do you want me to
Well,
cut
let's just do the, I will cut them. You can pick them up again.
Okay, so what you got?
Well, I just think we should throw down 3 cards to say that these are some of the influences she can expect.
The overall
influences in the year
okay.
ahead, things that you may have to, and it may show obstacles, it may show positive steps. So let's see what we've got. Okay, so what is that?
King of Swords reversed.
Okay, so the King of Swords reversed is kind of a person who is kind of critical and hypercritical of people. You might be dealing with this type of individual in the year ahead. It could impact you either on a professional level or a personal level. It's probably not somebody you would want to establish a, how should I say this, a romantic or friendship relationship with, because they seem very harsh and cruel in some ways and judgmental. So this might be somebody that impacts on your professional area, I think, a bit.
If it's not a person, it could be saying that part of the focus or some of your focuses in 2020 are also about working with a decision process, and that maybe if you have projects that depend on approval or okay from other persons, you're going to have to really work with them because they may need to be shown, that your project is really what they would want to green light for you.
And the next card is the Two of Wands upright. I like that card. Very nice. The Two of Wands is looking to positive growth and experiences, either with creative pursuits or in the enterprise sector a little bit. It can also mean messages coming in about projects and things that you've been working on, that indicate that things are successful.
If I'm going from the thread here with the first card being, persons that you may have to deal with to get, regulations or authority for projects, I'm also seeing too that this is part of what the nature of next year is that you're working with having the projects or situations set up, and maybe some of them are work, maybe some of them are just more personal projects, but they're all kind of finding fruition for you. That's what I see happening, is that you're going to find a number of the things you're working on are really going to come for you.
Well, and then I get the Nine of Pentacles reversed. And the Nine of Pentacles reversed is a card of maybe material conditions that are not completely satisfactory in the end. In other words, you might get more pleasure and spiritual, emotional happiness or well-being from the things that you do, as opposed to good monetary results. And also, it indicates that maybe you're not going to be happy with your living conditions in the year ahead, that you might be thinking of making some kind of move or adjustment where you live.
I'm not drawing a complete sense of what that card means here, but I do feel like you strongly that this may be the feeling that you're not really.
Content.
You might want to downsize your life in some manner. That maybe you're finding that you just need to let go of some material arrangements and things.
My cat was playing with my tablet. Apparently.
So that kind of comes along with what's going on too, I guess, with the year too, is that as you're finding other projects to work on, that maybe you're finding you need to lighten up some other areas of your life.
And I am drawing a couple of Lenormand cards. Well, this is nice. Okay, I drew the tree and I drew the sun, which to me means that health-wise and well-being-wise, very, very positive card for the year ahead. No serious problems. Matter of fact, success. I mean, if you're planning in the year ahead of, say, going on a diet or an exercise regime or changing some of your habits, as far as your health and well-being goes, very good time for that. You will achieve success in those kind of endeavors in the year ahead. And maybe it'll end up being a focus for you.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I mean, I sort of see this as being very growthful, and that the sun is illumination. So the sun means finding out things to me, but the sun also stimulates growth too. So I just sort of feel that in connection with what we're seeing here is like there may be this rough start in the beginning because you're trying to work with somebody who needs to approve this or be a partner in some form or has a judgment here, but that in general you're just going to really work things out.
Playing with my cat here. And that's it.
Yes.
I think that's a wrap for today, don't you think?
Right. We did
Hope
have
that
some
helped,
people
Laura.
show up in the chat, but we're really over time. We're sorry we can't have these readings right now. We are back again later this week, so we ask that you consider coming back and checking in with that.
On Thursday?
Thursday from 7 to 9 Eastern Standard Time, or next Sunday. We had a little bit of a startup problem this afternoon, but we did get going, and you can check out our reading for tonight for the audience. Once again, we really appreciate everybody being here, and
we want to say thank you and goodbye till next time. Take care, everybody.